Okay.
So we are live. Oh well, I think my Instagram has refused to go live because it's gone live. Okay, so it was fine. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another Thursday. For those of us in the UAE, in Dubai, I would say good evening. For those in the US, I would say good morning. Those in Nigeria, I think it's good afternoon. But hello to everybody. It's another exciting day in our book club. I'm your host, Gloria Esomeme, and with me, I have two amazing people they've held the flag. We've been going this 4 weeks. I have Yajat and Alicia. Do you guys mind saying hello to everybody?
Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
I see Razak. Razak, I see you. So great to see you after I can't see your face, but I know you're there. So great to see you after so many years. So we are gonna be doing a reflection on this book. This is week 4. We did week 1, 2, 3, and 4, where we're looking at 10x is easier than 2x. And the beauty of this book club is that it's we don't just read, but we read to transform. We read to change our worldviews, and we read to navigate life differently. So we have more results, and we are better versions of ourselves each month as we read a different book. We're just gonna dive right in and then just talk about what changes happened. So while we were backstage, we are talking. I was telling my wonderful co-host how much I have 10x this last month, and I know Yajat has 100x because last week he was on the bike. He was on the bike the whole time. He was so committed to being here, and he was on the bike, and he was still here. And Alicia has also just kind of like powered through, just being so consistent, just being like a stable rock that we can rely on. So yeah, Jad, I want to ask you overall, what have you done differently?
I would say I've worked like by reading this book. One big thing was even in the opening chapters, it was about going pro in triathlon rather than just doing it as a part-time thing. And also one more thing is I realized that I want to basically go into life coaching and help others also transform their lives because I also was in a was I also struggled with grades and all those other things. So I have experience in really making a comeback there. So this really helped me in that to think about like basically a massive goal, and then that made me realize all the different things that I was basically doing that were holding back my efficiency, which now I've eliminated. And of course, I'm working towards even a new thing I'm working towards this life coaching thing, getting some credentials on it, doing courses on it, and reading books, of course, about triathlon. So definitely lots of stuff that the book has inspired also for me to pushed me to do, and also taught me about basically that you shouldn't like limit yourself based on your perception of your abilities.
Okay. So just for context, for people who are listening, Yajat just turned 18. He hasn't even he's getting ready for college. So he's so just the insights that you have, and just you being able to reflect and apply this book to your life, and then link it to stuff you even did before you read the book. I think it's just phenomenal.
Thank
Alicia
you.
Alicia, what about you?
I think for me, I was able to take a different perspective from the book. Obviously, the 10x piece is huge, but there are some pieces that were embedded in the book that now I'll take moving forward. And the biggest one for me is the needs versus wants, that you're able to want, and if you really start to approach life from a place of what you want as opposed to what you need, the difference that it can make and how that really helps with 10xing. So I think, especially from an entrepreneur standpoint, it's always about productivity. How are we going to maximize? What are these goals? But I think that there's such a key point that was in the chapter about taking a step back and saying, what is it that you really want? And then not justifying it. Because a lot of times we
Yeah.
have to justify what we want. So then we say, okay, I don't need it, or let me just focus on my needs. But the idea of if you really want to 10x your life, then you need to focus on what you want as opposed to what you need.
And you know the cool thing, Alicia, is that sometimes you feel like there's something he talked about, like the pie being infinite. Like because you want more does not mean I'm gonna get less or Yajath is gonna get less. You can just
Right.
increase your value, you increasing your value and the desires you have without trying to justify why you want, well, you know why you want it, but you're not trying to justify it to anybody.
Yeah.
That just gives you the courage to push and structure to go for what you want.
Yeah, and with that, changing the idea of what wealth is. Whereas we think, yes, money is a means to wealth, but really how you can, the example that they give, you can, if you're in Antarctica with money, it doesn't matter. You having the money in Antarctica doesn't mean anything, right?
Right.
But really approaching how you, what is wealth and how you can add value. And so I think those were really key things from the book that I'll apply a lot moving forward.
And I'll share some of the things I have done or I'm doing differently, because I was when we started, I said 4 weeks ago, my business, I still broke it down, all the tasks, I broke it down into bits and pieces, and I have different consultants who work for me to get stuff done. But I'm getting to the stage where I'm like, I need to grow my own home team, where I'm building my own team where they can get stuff done for me. So that's one of the 10X's I think I have done in my business. I think up to last week, I was like, oh, well, I need to have my own assistant. I need to have all of these things. So I am in the process. So by the end of this month, I should have a structure where I can 10x within my own company, my own system. Sazi, I see you. Gracie, I see you. And then something else I did differently was I've been struggling. I've been trying to do it. So before it was more like just taking a day off, because when you own your own business, you just work until you can't work anymore. Like you look at the task, you look rather than look at yourself as an individual who has so much, your energy is not unlimited, like your productivity starts to wane after some time. I wasn't really looking at that. I was looking at all the things I needed to do to move my business to the next level. So I would work every day, every time until I cannot work anymore. But now I think maybe like the second week into this book, I started taking Sundays off. I'm like, oh, Sundays are my days off. I'm just gonna go to church, just relax, come back, go get a nice lunch, hang out with my friends, go to Dubai Mall, go look at the fountain, just be and not have to have, okay, because sometimes if I haven't done stuff, I'm like, well, it's Sunday, I'm back from church, I gotta get this thing done. But now it's like it's okay. It's okay not to have it done. And I've also structured my week such that the days I have meetings, I'm like, okay, I have meetings this day, just so it's easy. The flow is kind of easy for me, so I'm not jumping from writing or creating a roadmap to next thing I'm having a meeting and then I have to come back and do intellectual work. So the days I do I've created a roadmap where my productivity should actually 10x. So that's where I am. What questions do you guys have for me? Since I've been asking you guys questions.
No, I mean that you brought up something that was really key that I think not just for entrepreneurs but for those in general to look at how you're structuring your time, right? Even if you're in the workforce, when he talks about the flow, the different stages you can be at, especially even looking at performers and athletes and how they have the different rest day, rejuvenation days, and
Yes.
performance days. So since we're asking you questions now, we'll ask how beyond a day, because they talk about rest weeks and rest months,
Yeah.
beyond a day, do you feel like you can get to the point when you're 10xing that you can take more time off to be able to get in the flow state and come back more rejuvenated?
You remember they said 10x was in like stages. So when I first read this book, which was I think December 2024. At that time, I was working in I was working in a practice seeing patients. I was the medical director of a pharmaceutical lab. I was still working extra shifts as a hospitalist one weekend a month. So when I read this book for the first time, and I still had my real estate business I was doing on the side, I had an Airbnb, had long term rentals. So what I did when I read this book for the first time was I reached out to the pharmaceutical lab. I told them I cannot work. Because I would have to go once every week. I told them I have to go once a month. I had to cut my hours from showing up there 4 times. I'm like, no, I'll just do once. That meant I was leaving money on the table. I was leaving some experience on the table, but I'm like, yeah, I'd rather do that so I can have more time for creative work. Then I stopped doing like the extra shifts in the hospital. And then I was just working 3 days a week. And then the other 4 days, I was doing creative work. And most of the thought process, the work I was doing, that's what transitioned when I moved to the UAE. And so that was like the first major, because that was my first time of reading the book. My mind was just like, I was just like so impressed. And so now that I've read it a second time, what I am 10x in is I would take two days a week. I would have 2 days a week that is just me, not doing anything related to work. It would just be me hanging out with my friends, hanging out with my family, just doing things that's just me, just to rejuvenate and just get back to myself. Because it's a phase where I am in my business. Maybe the next 10x would be I could say, you know what, I'm just going to travel for like a whole month and not do anything and just be, because I have set the system. So before you can afford to take whatever X 10x you have to create systems before you can 10x on that part. So for me to be able to take like a month or 2 months just to do deep work without having to do my business or just to rest, I would have to create systems, and it's those systems I am creating now in my business. So hopefully the next time I'm 10xing, I would have those systems in place that even when I leave or when I don't show up every week, my I would have enough system that I would just keep going even when I'm not there physically. And, and yeah, just what do you have for me?
Um, I think I wanted to ask about like the negotiation side because that's very interesting to me because I think, um, especially like it's like I've not seen so much of it, but the fact is that it of course impacts every area of life. So
Yeah.
like in terms of that, like what is your plan to like 10x, for example, in like in like increasing your impact in terms of the amount of people that know more about like the importance of negotiation in life?
That's a really good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, just putting me on the hot seat, but I'll take it. I'll take it. So with the negotiation, the first thing is for me to negotiate with myself, and that's part of me 10x in myself and say, oh, okay, because I can only give to the extent to which I have. I can only pour out of me what I have inside me. So the first thing is for me to pour into myself, develop myself to be that person who can give. And then when it comes to that's a good question that you asked, because I wasn't going to talk about it, but my podcast, I kind of 10x the way I've been operating my negotiation podcast. Because before I would know what it is I want to talk about. I would have my guests and I would pull out all of this information from there. But now I've started thinking about it in terms of systems and structures and levers. Like, okay, we're negotiating, so we're gonna look at it. Even though people will be telling me stories, I'm creating buckets where I'm putting those segments of the stories inside. Okay, so that's the social aspect. Okay, that's institutional. Just that's economic. So I've been able to create buckets. So, and then some of the people who I could have had in my podcast before, I can't really have them anymore because I have changed the way I think about my podcast. I have kind of 10x the concept. So it's not just free flow. You should be able to hit a certain number of those buckets before I can bring you in. So we are 10x in the conversation that we're having. So that's one thing. So one thing is to kind of upskill the conversation, the level of the conversation that I'm having, to make it a little bit more. It's still going to be simple and easy, but I have a structure that I would follow, that it has to fit into. It's just more intellectual, some intellectual buckets for me. And then
So
with go ahead.
it's like on the mental like side, like you've made these buckets, and then you guide the conversation based on that.
Correct. Correct. Because the thing there is, I since I am the host, I should be able to guide the conversation in the direction that I want to take it. But the first thing is, I need to be sure that whoever I'm bringing in has that information, so I can guide that's the conversation. But if they don't have that structure, they don't have that thing inside, or they don't have the lived experience that I'm looking for, then no matter how much I try to steer the conversation, it's really not going to move. So now
Yeah.
it has to go a certain way. They need to have it in them. Then I would have to bring it out to have it fit those certain criteria that I have drawn out. So that's just with the whole that's with the podcast. And then just to also increase reach and teach more, I would have like I'm working on a negotiation lab. I don't know if I talked about it last week, where I would have enroll people into like a cohort 6-week program where we go over the basics of negotiation. So when you've done with that program, we would have a before and after, and there would be like an obvious change in people's mindsets and how they go about negotiation. So yeah, Jeff, you asked.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So that's the that's how I am 10xing that part of my offering.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'll just ask the people who are out there, if you have any comments, if you want to add to the conversation about how you've been able to 10x, you can write it in the chat and we can talk about that. But let me go back to our guide, because I think we've shared our personal experiences on how we have 10x. Um, so so there's this question. It says, how would your decisions change if you're fully committed to your 10x future? Any one of you can just like go for it.
So how would my like the future?
Yes. So how would your decisions change?
Yeah.
So one way you can look at it is just think of one decision that you might need to make and say, how would that change if you're fully committed to your 10x future? It's not like, you're not oscillating. One moment you're 10x in, the next moment you're 5x in, and then you 2x, and then you
Yeah.
jump back to 10x, just like a persistent 10x. So that's where I struggle. Just to remain at 10, I
And,
oscillate.
and that was my answer, is like my decisions would be so much more decisive. I mean, it's like instead of going back and forth, the oscillation wouldn't happen. It's like, no, okay, is this, and I think they mentioned this in the book, is it in line with what the 10x goals are? If it's not, then you
Yeah.
have to cut it out. So the decision making process becomes so much more simple and streamlined, because you're able to focus on that 20% and say, okay, is that part of the 80%? Part of the 80%? I don't need to think about it. So
Yeah.
it makes my decision much easier.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's like I honestly feel like this is controversial, but probably if I wanted to completely commit, I would probably like quit university. Don't go to university.
Right, guys. Do not let your parents know you had that conversation here. I don't want to be. I don't want your mom calling me.
Just don't. That's like that's like what would be the no oscillation, because that is, I know for a fact that that is not like what I want to pursue. I'm just doing it because just for the sake of it. So probably, but obviously that's why I was like smiling so much while thinking about this.
Or why don't you do this? Why don't you set a target and say, you're going to go all in between now and when college starts, and if you can make the income you're supposed to make in a year of what you would make when you graduate, then that's like, because you this is how I see education. Education is giving you the ability to learn more. It's not
Yeah.
just formal. That's what formal education does. That you've learned is giving you a good foundation, and then you can learn more. For you, you can process complex information. You've shown that, and if think through it, and then give
No,
yourself like,
genuinely, that is what my thing is. I'm doing like that is what I'm aiming for, and even like I discussed this like with, like I was like discussing this with people, and for sure, I mean, like if I can earn the income, then like what? Why not just like
yeah,
just
yeah,
quit?
yeah,
And but I was thinking also that just for fun, like maybe in the future or something, I can do like a master's and PhD in sports science just for fun, just because I like to study about it. I do it like just out of like interest, like even without needing to like study for it, I do. So
yeah.
like if in the future, then just for fun, I can do that.
Why? Just for fun.
Just for fun, like honestly, I don't know, it's just something I'm interested in, and I do, and plus I'm also interested in, plus the PhD will help me do research in that sector, which I'm also like, which keeps that pathway open. So for example, like doing research on certain like types of exercises, exercise method, techniques that will help athletes, like definitely, because I also do want to coach people. So in the future, so that's also
Can I,
credibility
can I,
added to my to me.
can I, can I poke a hole in that?
Yes, yes,
So, so if you have enough resource, you can give a grant for that to be done in a university, and someone will do it as their dissertation. You
true.
don't. That's 10x, and you don't have to
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
that's
If
true.
you have, yeah,
That's
if you have
true.
the
Yes,
resource, then yeah. Or if you have a name
actually,
that's really
yes.
big, yeah, you have a name that's really big. You can someone, and it's a good idea. This you don't have to do it yourself. You can't. You don't have to
Yeah,
be everything. Someone else can do it. So that would be another. That would be
that's true.
10x. Yeah.
Yes, I'll think about
Yeah.
that instead. Honestly, yeah.
So for let me think about it. For me, what decision would I think I'm kind of like Alicia, where I would have to just kind of like make a decision and stick to it. And if I'm gonna change my mind, it's not like I'm changing my mind and reverting back to my old self, because they say the gravitational pull of your old self is real. It would pull you. So even if I'm going to change my mind, is that I've made this 10x decision, and I'm changing my mind to taking it another level, to a higher 10, taking it more to another 10x, rather than me going back to who I was before. So it's just to stick to my guns, make that decision, and then just stay there.
Yeah,
So yeah.
just go all in.
Yes. So yes, I used to go all in. Do you guys have any last words before I introduce the book for next month? But I can't believe it's our last week already.
Yeah, I know. I mentioned it when we were backstage, just how many people have talked to this book about, talked about the book too, and how it really changes people's perspective and mind. So, whoever's on who hasn't read it, I really do encourage you to read it, or at least get the Cliff's Note version. I don't know if that's still a thing, but to because it will change the way that you approach things both personally and professionally. And it really, a key point for me was freedom. When they speak about freedom and the different types of freedom, I think we all to a certain extent are chasing freedom, but the way that they explain it, it really does open up your mind to say, okay, I'm chasing freedom, but yes, freedom is not free. We know that it costs, but make sure that we're designing a life that uh, it costs, but it's still achievable. So
Yeah,
Thank
like
you.
an enjoyable journey towards freedom instead of like suffering all the
yes,
time.
That's
yes,
that's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah, I think you guys have said just amazing things, and things that I resonate with. Um, I don't know why I feel bad that I'm about to stop. Like I've finished reading the book. I just feel bad. I think I'm gonna miss both of you. I think that's what it is. I'm gonna miss this my Thursday with Alicia and Yajat. I'm gonna miss that.
Yes, and we'll miss you too.
Thank you, thank you. And Alicia, you were gonna say something?
I was gonna say Thursday nights will never be the same again.
Oh. Now we're all getting very cheesy, but yeah. So our next book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. We are gonna start for, I think this, which because it has about 20 chapters with an extra chapter, so we're just gonna start reading it from now. So next Thursday we are gonna review the first segment. I will send. I think I already sent the book guide to all the members in the school community. I've sent the book the reader's guide, not the book guide, the reader's guide. It's there. So you can see how we broke it down into different segments. So it gives you some direction on how many chapters to read before we meet next week. And I'll be having two amazing ladies with me. One of them, her name is Jada Phillips. She has a PhD in psychology. I know she's from the East Coast in the US. She's just someone who's phenomenal. You guys will meet her next week. And then I have another co-host. She lives in Dubai, but she's European. So she has a podcast called The Iconic Edits. So the three of us will be talking about this book. It's something that I've always wanted to read the book, and so also the other ladies. So we are going to talk about that and see what habits we are going to change, or what habits from 10x I'm going to keep working on, so I sustain that habit. Yeah, at this point, so I have a request. So I know the book we're going to read in March, so that's this book, but I'm not fully decided on the book for April and May. I would put, if you have any suggestions, please, if you have you can text me, you can send me a message on Instagram, LinkedIn, any book ideas, or if you are part of the reading group on school, you can send a message. And once I have a few ideas, I'll put a poll, and then we can all vote and decide on the book we're going to read for the next 2 months. And if you also want to be a co-host, reach out to me. Let's discuss and see if you are a good fit, and we will take it from there. So yeah, just Alicia, it's time to say goodbye.
Yes.
Thank you so much for you guys. Just so you know, you guys helped me read this book. Without you guys, I don't. If you guys were not going to show up, I don't think I would have shown up fully. So thank you.
Well,
Yes, no
thank you for
problem.
introducing us to the book.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. It's very helpful, and because of that, I actually read this book, so it's actually really impactful on my life. So thank you.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I will. I know I will keep in touch, and you guys still you can join next Thursday. I'll give you a shout out when I see you next Thursday.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much to everyone who joined. PJ, Adesua, MQ, Maki, Gracie, Sazi, and Razak. Thank you so much. And those who joined on YouTube, who I can't see, those who joined on LinkedIn, and those on Facebook. Grace, thank you. Grace said nice read, and she liked the co-host, so she just gave a shout out to you guys. So yes.
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
I'm just reluctant to end it, but I think at this point I have to. Grace, then you was co-host, then you was both of them. It was she had to correct it and say it's co-hosts with an S and not just not one person. So yeah. All right, guys. Bye and see you all soon.
Yes. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you.